Hello, everybody, and welcome to the monthly Flatcar community meeting. Let me share the presentation real quick.
Hello.
Hey. All right, here we go. This is the June meeting. It's our second meeting. Welcome new guests and regular visitors. And today, after our usual introduction round, we'll have two spotlights. So first goes to the Nebraska update server, and the second to the system that does the nightly builds and release testing for the Flatcar Linux OS images, and that is Mantle.
I cannot hear you, Dilo.
That's bad.
I think it's okay.
We can hear you. I can hear
We
you.
can hear you. Okay. So can you hear anyone?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
No, I mean Joachim.
Oh.
Joachim, let me chat. It's the joys of having a live chat. I'll settle that with Joachim. Oh, he'll rejoin. Cool. That is because Joachim will do the Nebraska spotlight. It would be great having him. All right. So after giving you a bit of an overview of the Flatcar nightly and release testing suite, we will have a quick status update to ARM64 because there has been recurring interest in the community on the platform in particular and how to get it to stable. After that, we'll hand off to the regular upcoming releases news, and then we'll open up the mic for community QA and discussions. Do we have Joachim back?
Yes, I did not leave because I found out that the sound bar on the Zoom settings here on GNOME was somehow very, very low. So now I can hear you.
Awesome, that was easy. And
Yes.
I can hear myself on an echo. But anyways, let's do a quick hello and then go to our first spotlight. Hi, I'm Tilo. I'm a manager with the team that maintains Flatcar, and we're doing this outreach to involve the community in development and governance in the future. And I'll pick Aniruddha for the next introduction, and then you pick the next and so on. Aniruddha, can you give us a quick hello and say who you are and what you're doing here?
Hello, I am Aniruddha. In previous meeting, I also there and introduced, and here I am so excited about this community. So I came here for the next talk. And I am from India. I'm a college second year CS undergrad, and I'm learning the operating system and this kind of things in these days.
All right, Mathieu.
Yeah, hi everyone. So my name is Mathieu. I recently joined Kinvolk and I work on the test of the release of the OS. And yeah, let's hear from Sayan.
So hi, I'm Sayan. I also am part of the Kinfolk team, and I primarily tinker around with the packages and primarily focus for the releases of the Flatcar container Linux. I'll pick Kai.
I'm Kai. I'm also part of the Flatcar team, and yeah. Who do I pick next? Dongsu?
Hi, so I've been working on Flatcar Linux since 3.5 years, and so I mostly work on security updates and cluster API and so on. Yeah, that's it. Next, yeah, William.
Yeah.
Hey folks, I'm William. I'm at Kinfolk as well. I'm doing a lot with the ARM support right now. And let's see, who hasn't spoke yet? Marga, let's hear from you.
Hi, I'm Marga. I was working with Flatcar until very recently, focusing on vendor integration, and now I'm actually working on eBPF tools, so not so much Flatcar related, but still interested in the future of Flatcar. Let's hear from Jeremy.
Hi, I'm a software engineer and I'm interested in the future of ARM support in Flatcar. I'll pick Yannick.
Hello, yeah, I'm Yannick, co-founder of Neurofinity. So here from the user side of Flatcar Linux, I've actually been using Flatcar all the way when it was still CoreOS container Linux, but that was with various other companies, obviously, since mine isn't as old. Yeah, and I'm here to hear how everything's going forward, of course, see what's coming up next, where we can maybe have shared interests with other community members, especially when it comes to things like GPUs, which is something that we haven't started looking into yet, but I've spoken to Tilo about very briefly and also some other people. So this would be interesting going forward to see as well, but I think not topic today. But once we've got news on that or someone else, I'm sure that will be in one of the upcoming ones. And I'm not sure if we heard from Selena yet, so I'd pick you next if you haven't introduced yourself yet.
Hi guys, I'm Selena. I'm also working for Kinfolk. In the past 1.5 years, I was working more in the background as an HR and admin manager. And now I just joined the events team, and that's why I'm in this meeting to learn more about the events and the community. And I'm excited to get to know everyone. Who's next? I think we had a lot of people, right? Who didn't spoke yet?
I think Abrar and
okay, then I choose you, Abrar.
Yeah.
Hey guys, my name is Abrar. I'm a software engineer from India, working as a consultant for clients from UK and Singapore. I've been working with container-based ecosystem from past 4 years, but mainly more on the, as a user. So I'm more keen on understanding what is Flatcar and probably also looking for areas where, probably I can make some contributions. I'll pick, I think this Varun. So I'll pick Varun.
Hello, hey folks. My name is Varun. I'm a pre-final computer science student from India. I just attended science talk about Kinfolk at first commit, so I was excited and I want to see what this is and like possibly look at any scope of contribution in the.
All right, thanks everybody. Now handing the mic to Joachim for the Nebraska presentation.
Hey, I don't think I introduced myself, so I'm joking. I was director of product at Kinfolk, and now running the same team, still getting to know how everything works at Microsoft. And my team created this project called Nebraska at Kinfolk, and that's what I'm here to talk to you about. Yeah, let's hope I don't have any other sound problems, and I trust that you can hear me right now. So next slide, Tilo. So first, I think it's important to mention why do we need an update manager before explaining what it actually does. And next slide. Yeah, so if you have an application, whatever flavor you think an application may be out there, and you want to be able to update it, of course the canonical way to do that is to provide a URL and just get the new resource, whatever it is, and deploy it, right? So why is this not enough? Well, this is not enough when you have a lot of machines that maybe they are using a different version of the application on purpose, and maybe they all use the same version, but you do not want them to update all at the same time for various reasons. To be able to keep availability, for example, if we're talking about a cluster, yeah. And what to do, for example, if you roll out an update, right, and everything starts fetching that update and start updating immediately. So what if the update is actually bad? You're just as lucky as the number of machines that haven't updated, right? So this means what you want to do when a deployment or an update fails. Yeah, or for example, if all the machines should update at the same time, like I said, or should they go in pairs, that sort of stuff. So next slide. Next slide, Dilo. Yeah. So Nebraska comes to help with all of these. Next. So it's like I said, it's an update manager and also monitor. And it uses something called the Omaha protocol. That's why it's called Nebraska. And yeah, so the Omaha protocol is something that Google maintains, and it was used. I don't know if it's still used, but it was used as the as the protocol for the updates policy around stuff like Google Earth and others. Another thing is that, of course, Flatcar being one of the reasons, or the main reason actually, why we decided to invest in this project. There's some optimizations for Flatcar itself, but it does not mean that Nebraska is an update manager for Flatcar, right? So it's supposed to be generic enough as long as the applications use the Omaha protocol. Next slide. Right. So now I'm going to talk about the architecture of Nebraska. This is a very rough and simple, diagram. So if you focus on the middle section, that's what the that's what should be saying Nebraska, not Kinvolk Update Service on the slides. But it is what it is. So that's Nebraska. That because we have also Kinvolk Update Service, and it's powered by Nebraska. It's exactly the same thing. So Nebraska is composed of, it's the typical web application. We have a front end and a back end. They communicate with each other. And then the interesting part is how everything comes together with the update payloads plus the cluster. So imagine the thing that you have at the bottom is your cluster. You have several machines, and they talk to Nebraska through this Omaha protocol that I mentioned. The way that this is done, implemented, is of course part of the application itself, in itself. And yeah, and also another part is that you don't have to host the updates in Nebraska itself. You can have it somewhere else. You can just point to it, and that's it. So next slide. There's some construction around my apartment, so if you cannot hear me, let me know. Yeah. So like I was saying, and maybe implicitly, Nebraska is a passive update manager. So it does not reach out to the instances and say you should update at this time and that time. That's not what it does. It is the other way around. It's the machines that connect to Nebraska and say, hey, this is what I have right now, version whatever of my application. What do you have for me? And Nebraska goes and says, I have nothing for you, because maybe it's you can only update 10 machines at a time, and you've reached that quota. Yeah, so it acts pretty much as an update policy dispenser. Of course, when you get these pings from machines saying, I want an update, and we say, okay, go ahead. So then the machine is supposed to tell us, I've started updating. When the update payload is completed, it can reach Nebraska again and say, I've got the complete update. So that's a new state. And because of this, we keep track of the states and we do the monitor part, right? So you can go into, as you'll see, and you can see what's going on with every application that communicates. Next slide. Next. So there are, let's say, we can imagine that there are 4 modules to what constitutes what Nebraska manages. So the kind of umbrella one is the application. Like I said, an application can be whatever you think of, or like it can be a service that you update. It could be like a Docker image. It can be an operating system like we have. And that's what you identify as, in this case, in this example, as Flatcar. So that's an application. Next slide. Yeah, so inside every application, you can have groups, and these represent sets or groups, of course, of instances of the application. So groups can be referred to by an ID. That would be a unique ID, or a track name, which is not unique, but it should be unique to the, among the groups. Yeah, the groups is where actually the policy is defined, right? So, and we'll see that you can model your, your update policy and your update manager as you will with this. And associated with the group, we have channels. That's the next slide, please. Yeah, so channels can be associated with one or more groups. We'll see why. And they are just, you can think of them as obviously distribution channels. But they don't really have the information directly in them. So there's another layer. That's the last layer in the next slide, please. And that's the package. So the package can be assigned to one or more channels in this case, and the channel can be assigned to one or more groups. And together with this, it gives us a lot of flexibility to kind of design what our clusters in this Flatcar example can look like. So next slide. Right. So, and this is an example. It's not, it's not how we use it. I don't know if anyone uses it like this, but this is just an example. So we have Flatcar as the application. Then we have 3 groups. 2 are production groups. You can think of it like, for example, you have a cluster in the US, and you have another one for production in Europe. So those can be 2 groups, and then you have another one which is the test cluster. And as you see there, we can say, okay, this group, the test cluster should update whenever there is a new beta version. The beta version is, of course, the beta channel is, of course, pointing to the beta version of the package. And the other ones, we can have 2, like I said. So we can have one in the US and another in Europe. And what we can say actually is I want you to update only during business hours, right? So somebody is around if things start breaking. So next slide. Right, so now I'm going through a few of the features or feature highlights. Next slide. Right, so as I hinted already, one of the things we can do and is very useful is the rate limiting. So we can say only 2 or 3 machines can update every 10 minutes or every hour or every day. We can say we can have custom groups. Like I said, you can call whatever you want to the groups. You can see on the monitor part, you can see how the versions evolution goes. So you start seeing that less and less machines as they update, of course, have the old version, and more have the new version if it all goes well. We have an activity overview where it says something bad happened here, so you can go and check the details. and it also, for example, for Flatcar, since I said that there are some bells and whistles for Flatpak, one of the things for Flatcar, sorry, for Flatcar. So many flat things. We can set it up so that it just updates automatically according to the public, the upstream alpha and stable and beta channels, and it can also actually download them and host them. So next slide. Next slide. Yeah. So this feature is about the updates behavior. Like I said, this is just to quickly show you how it looks. I'll also have a demo, so we don't have to to go into much detail in order to save time. But you have all the details there. You have is the update enabled or not? You can suddenly stop updates, which means that of course it won't do anything to the machines that are already updating. The thing is that next time the machine says, okay, I've stopped this step, what's next? It says there's no update, right? And the machine should behave accordingly. We have a safe mode as well that goes and if one update fails, then it just turns off updates completely. Next slide. Yeah, and then the monitoring part, like I said, it's just you can quickly see, okay, what's the progress overall of my group, which can represent a cluster again or whatever. Next slide. We have the version breakdown, like I was saying. You can see, what it looks like in terms of how many machines have whatever version they're going on, and also the status. Right in there, you can see, okay, 15 minutes ago, maybe things start getting slower because I had a bunch of machines downloading, right? Next slide. Yeah, and then of course we have an instance list. So those are the instances that connected to a group. Next slide. Yeah, and this is the syncer. So like I said, this is one of the things we have built in, especially for Flatcar. And this means that whenever there is a public version, when the syncer kicks in, it just a file the package for you inside the application, so you don't have to go through all the options, which are actually a lot. And this is optional, right? This, like I said, you don't even have to run this for Flatcar alone, but that's the context we have the talk. Still, this is an optional setting. Next slide. And also hosting, right? So maybe you want to sync and host because you don't want to download from the public records because maybe it's broken or so. And yeah, so this is another optional feature. Next slide. Next slide is still not here. Yeah, so I draw some use cases. We can go through them very quickly. Right, so rate limited update. So let's say we have one cluster that should update only 10 machines per hour to delete this Flatcar Linux stable. So how does all those groups and channels and whatever translate to this? Well, you run Nebraska with the syncer on, assuming already that you have the Flatcar application, which is actually set up by default. You create a group for the cluster pointing to the channel you want, in this case stable, and you have to set up the the machines as the policy in the group. Next slide. Okay, so deployment at different times. I also hinted to this. Let's say you have two clusters. One is public, the other one is for testing or dog fooding, and then you can but the public one as to be rolled out safely with the safe mode. That's one instance at a time, and it gets the update gets stopped on failure. Whereas the dog fooding, you can just let it update. As long as a new stable is out, it would update. So you can always go to this one and check what's new and whether things are working. Next slide. Right, and this one I also mentioned, like if you have different geolocations, that's kind of the canonical case for having different groups. You can set up one group for each location. In this case, the use case is about updating only when people are around. And there's an option exactly to say only update during business hours with a time zone that you can pull there. Yeah, and you have to, of course, enable updates. Next slide. Right. So so how exactly do you set up Flatcar to talk to Nebraska? If you don't do anything, it will update to the public version of the update server, of course. But then you can also deploy your own Nebraska and you know, and set up your machines to point to it, so you can decide the policy, right? It's pretty simple. The basic case. So in this case, you have to edit the update conf that's on etc. I think I should have added the whole path, but you have the server URL. You have to point to the right endpoint, which is in this case the default one is v1 update. You have the group. The group can be like the group UID, like I said, which is a bunch of stuff that nobody will remember, or you can use the track name. So you can you can change the track name yourself in the application and call it whatever. And that's the name you can use here. And another thing, which is, so those first two are actually the basic ones. Another one that you can set up for more easily identifying one machine is that you can give it an alias. And then instead of the machine UID, you will see the whatever you put here. So if you have like a database and a server, you can name those accordingly and you'll see them. Yeah, you can see more options in there if you get to the slides later. Next slide. Now we have the demo. Let's see how crashy we get. Oh,
Handing over the screen share to you.
Yeah, it just minimized Zoom for me. So where's the thing? Here. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Right. So let's refresh and see what happens. Yeah. Okay. So this is what Nebraska looks like in a very vanilla case. You know, a very vanilla case that already had some stuff going on from my previous testing, in order to make sure that this goes well. Right. So the first thing you see here is the application. Like I said, this is like the umbrella module that we're representing here. Inside the application, when the application talks to Nebraska, one of the parameters of the Omaha protocol is actually the app ID, and this is the app ID, right? So this is what identifies it as a Flatcar application, and all the Flatcar instances will have this UID there. Now this screen, like I said, this is the initial one. You can set up a new application here. Description, you can copy the groups from another application if you want, and you'll get a new UID by automatically. Right, and then you can see also like an overview of the groups here and the activities. So when things fail, you can just go to the instance and see what's going on. By default, this is showing you the latest 24 hours. I have more data, but it's older than 24 hours. So let's go to the stable channel, and there's nothing here, right? There's not actually. Let's go to the application first. Yeah, if you go deeper into the application, you see a bit more details here. You see all the groups and the policy that they have. In here, what channel they're pointing to is actually more easier to spot here, and when the release was done, and everything. So if you go into a group, like I was saying, you can see that in this case I have no updates recently, but I do have something in the latest 7 days, so I can select it there. Going quickly back to the application view, you have the channels. This is where you can add a channel, say whatever you want in here, or you will have the ones by default already set up for the arches that we support. And you have the packages that the syncer actually populated. It's nice to have the syncer if you use Flatpak, because this is what it looks when you want to add it by hand. You can totally do it if you want. You can actually also block some channels from not getting this package assigned. So you can say, okay, I want this package to be not to be ever set up in whatever channel that was pointing to it. Yeah, and you can delete stuff as well. So now let's see, like instead of just showing you the just the UI, I'm going to switch to a terminal that I think you don't see, but that's okay. And I'm going to, I have like a script that just fakes machines here. So we should start seeing stuff coming up shortly. Maybe it's faster if I do it like this. Yeah, so this is like, okay, suddenly we had 100 instances that connected. What the script does is, I'm an instance of the Flatcar application, and I'm running version 000 because I don't know what it is. For example, please tell me what can I update if I want the update given by actually this track name, right? And then it says, okay, here's the payload, and then it starts downloading. So let's see. So it says that 1% started downloading. This is probably not like accurate because I refreshed and it gets updated if you don't refresh like every minute or so. We have a few errors. We have a status breakdown. Of course, we don't have a lot of data in here, but then what we can do is we go to the instances list, and we have a bunch of IDs here, and we can say, okay, let me see what's going on in this one. So this one actually, it was granted an update, it started downloading, it downloaded it, and then there was an error, right? And then it got granted an update again, because maybe the error is because it downloaded and it didn't work out. So yeah, and you can filter by status or by version. And this is all very cryptic, but like I was saying, you can also go here and see a little bit better what I was showing before. And this is the ID, which is by default. But if I had set up a machine alias, it would show up here as something else. Or I can actually go and say, look, this machine I've already seen. This one is the one that ends in BB7 is actually the database. So let's call it database. Yeah, let's call it database. And now it's called database. So now when the machine reports, you can see that it's gonna from this moment on, it's always going to be called database, so you can see what's going on. Yeah, and then of course, since we had a bunch of errors, that's what the fake script does. They also show up here. You have a few pages of data to go. Oh, actually, this one was when the syncer got us the latest version and set it up. So yeah, and maybe we go back now to these slides. Tilo?
On it.
Yeah, so this was a little demo that I prepared, just to to show you that you have this this UI, and things start popping up as long as you have them communicating to the server. Now a little bit about the direction of the project. Next slide. Yeah. So like I said, the UI and the backend, they do communicate through a REST API, but this is something we don't really like prepare and expose, and we want to do that. In order to not only, but also to have a command line interface tool that allows you to do pretty much what I was doing in the UI, but also like deleting stuff and creating new packages from this tool. So you can automate it from I don't know, without the UI. So this is something that is coming up soon. We are working on that. Another thing is the advanced search. So I showed you a bunch of instances connecting. Those were only 100. Some clients and some cases may have thousands, tens of thousands. So it's nice when you want to search for one and you have it there, of course. Downgrade support is something that the team also needs, and so in this case is that what happens is that the policy is such that when the machine says I have version 1.2.3 and the group says I have version 1.1, that's lower than nothing happens, right? But sometimes we want the downgrade to happen, so that's something we need to explore. And also fine-tune how the channels are synchronized. So right now they're synchronized because they're called accordingly to what the upstream channels are, and that's not very that works fine, but it's kind of limiting. So we want to actually say, okay, sync this one, don't sync this one, etc. And some UX improvements, because as you saw, some of the UI can be a little bit confusing at the moment, even though it's functional. So if you want to learn more, we have an open roadmap in there. Actually, the whole project is open, so you can just check it out. And next slide. You can also take part. Next slide. Yeah, so if you want to, to join the project and contribute, you're welcome to do that. We have certainly, people already, participating from other companies and individual contributors. Be sure to check that contributing section we have on the docs. That's the docs website, by the way. And if you want to find a good way to jump in, we have good first issue labels in the issue tracker. So just drop by and take part. And I think this is the last slide.
It is. Thank you very much, Joachim. So folks, if you are ever in the need of maintaining your own upgrade process for Flatcar, if you want to have fine-grained control of what your clusters are running, or if you need more insight, have a look at the Nebraska project. It is operated at scale by us serving updates to all of the public deployed instances. So it's proven resilient. And if you want to pick up developing, there's your chance. There's the project. Thanks again, Joachim, for giving us an intro. Now going to the second spotlight, which is release testing and nightly testing on Flatcar, handing off to Saya.
Thank you, Tilo. So I'll be covering on, me and Matthew would be covering on how we run the tests on for Flatcar. So next slide, Tilo. Yeah, so primarily during this talk, we will be focusing on this tool called Cola, but it comes under the umbrella of Mantle, project called Mantle. So I'll give you a brief introduction about Mantle. So Mantle is kind of a project which glues Flatcar together. So it has the sources of a couple of projects, and when you build the project, it spits out the binary of the like Cork, Plume, or Cola gang. Now, what each of them actually serves a very different purpose, but actually helps Flatcar build, test, and maintain in the long run. So I'll give a liner about each of the projects. So Cork is primarily SDK. So the SDK that we have, so it's used to engage with the Cork project is used to engage with that particular SDK. Then we have Plume, which is used to release the particular images that we for Flatcar into the cloud environment. So it has multiple stages and commands. Then we have Orb, which is kind of a lower level projects, which helps in interacting with different cloud providers. Then we have Gang, which we uses. So we in Flatcar we store the artifacts which are produced in the build in Google Cloud Storage. So we usually use this to interact. This is used to interact with the Google Cloud Storage. And then we have finally Cola, which is kind of the focus of this particular spotlight. So Cola is used to run tests. That is there are so if you go through the sources, you'll see there are a couple of tests inside the test folder. So basically what it does is that you can run those tests individually or in group or in different like do use bunch of filters to see how which sections are failing or how things are passing, and basically ship the particular changes that we are working on. So, and this is one of the core components, because we heavily test the changes that go into Flatcar, and we have a CI setup which essentially runs this on Jenkins, but then you if you're looking to contribute, you can also run the whole setup locally, which would be covered by Matthew. So I will hand over to Matthew to show a demo on how this tests are run and how you can probably filter those basically the cloud providers and other types of stuff. So Matthew, over to you.
All right, thank you, Sayan. Hey, everyone. Next slide, please, Thilo.
Oh, sorry, I stopped sharing prematurely. I thought you needed.
Okay, understood.
No, it's all right. I thought you needed the console at this point. Sorry for that. Here you go.
So yeah, we have these slides with two links. So the first link is the Askinema demo that Thilo is going to run on his laptop. So we are going to see how Cola test runs and how you can implement simply a test using Cola. So if you want to share your screen, Thilo, to show that. Awesome. So it's Askinema record, because I wanted to avoid mistakes during the demo. So if you clone mantle, you can access to the Cola test directory where everything is stored inside this directory. So here we have all the tests we currently implemented for Cola. So we can take a look at the Docker test. It's an easy one, and we can see that we just need to register it using a Go language, and then we can just run the test. So we just need to implement an actual testing method. So in this case, it's the Docker network method. So then you can just Cola run the test. In this case, it's just going to run 2 QEMU instances to assert that the Docker network is well working between the 2 instances. Something you can notice is that for running QEMU test, we provide an image. So it's super nice if you want to contribute to Flatcar and build your own image, you can actually use it and test it locally. Of course, if you have a cloud provider credentials, you can just run this same test on the provider we support. So currently Azure, AWS, DigitalOcean, stuff like that. And yeah, so you can do really a lot of things. You can test everything you want to, and if a good point, if you want to contribute to Flatcar or to the Flatcar ecosystem, you can try to run your own test and to implement the test for the package we currently ship with Flatcar. So this Docker test takes around 1 minute to be run. Waiting to be finished, I can speak about the architectures, because we support the AMD, but of course the ARM architecture. So the test has passed, so we can just inspect the logs file in case the test failed, and we have access to the console logs and also to the systemd logs in case of failure, if you want just to see what went wrong. So I mentioned that we can test on AMD, but also on ARM64. So this is a good getting started if you want to be involved in the community to start working on the ARM64. You can just try to run all the tests to identify the failure one and to try to solve by yourself. But for this, I will let the mic to William to talk about the status update of ARM64.
All right, are we doing that now? Because we've got that in a couple slides.
Yeah, I'm about to share the presentation again. Thank you, Cyan and Mathieu. So that's the test suite that we use for release testing and nightlies. And it's interesting since a few folks reached out to us and asked for ARM64 path to stable in particular, which we'll cover in the status update right now. So a number of release tests are still failing, more details in the next slide. And one thing to pick up, or even a hurdle to overcome before doing the actual thing and help making ARM64 fit for stable, is to run those tests on a recent ARM release locally and to understand, or even on AWS, which has ARM instances, or on Equinix Metal, which also offers ARM instances, to reproduce the kind of issues we're running into, and then to pick up one particular test that is failing and investigate that further. But more details on that from William.
Yes, indeed. So, Thilo, I was not the one who was working on the Equinix and the Graviton stuff. So I cannot speak on that. But when it comes to the tests and the poll kit stuff, this making slow progress on this, from my side, it's very much just kind of a slow wade through a peat bog of dependencies. Especially when bumping versions on these packages, it turns into, you know, transitive dependencies that hadn't really been tested on ARM64 before. So the Polkit one in particular is putting up quite a fight. But as Matthew was mentioning, getting these tests running on your own infrastructure, on your own machines, is not all that difficult, and it gives us a lot more to work on as we're kind of able to dig down into what is failing. Last I took a look at this, a lot of this was etcd related, if I recall correctly. Not a whole lot more to add on that one at the time.
Yeah, that's right. I had a look into the nightlies today, and so I just brought up Equinix Metal and AWS because they actually have real hardware where you can run on, which may or may not be fast on your local machine, then running them in an emulated environment. So of the 72 release tests that I was looking at for the QEMU target, I've seen 51 okay, and 21 fail. Most of the failures were C Linux related, which drills pretty much down to the Polkit thing. And we have a few etcd oddnesses and one or the other outlier as well. So that is the ARM status currently. ARM64, the alpha image, actually works and performs pretty well on both of the bare metal of the cloud platforms that we tested this on. We did some comparative tests with other Linux distributions on ARM, and we're pretty much on par, and in some cases even faster than the other distributions that we've tested. Now handing to Cyan for the upcoming releases.
Yeah, so we can go to the next slide. Yeah, thank you. So we have the current release, which happened on May 19th. We had, and then followed by a minor release for all the channels. So the alpha release was to 2879 0.0, but then we had a issue with the kernel. There was a IOMMU crash that happened, so we had the fix happened in the next update, so we pushed it on May 21st. So so it also went to the other channels as well. We also had the run C CV that was fixed, pushed in this particular all the channels, and alpha received a couple of package upgrades like Rust in SDK and then dbus and Go. Beta was primarily had an issue with had a package upgrade with NVIDIA drivers, same for stable, which included a couple of CV fixes. And then, as I earlier mentioned, that it also included the updates to the Linux kernel for the crashes. And LTS also received kernel updates to the channel. Moving to next, we are planning release on June 14th. Thilo, can you go to the next slide? Yeah. So we are planning a release on June 14th, and it would be having, so the alpha would be a major release 2905. And it would be receiving a lot of package upgrades, which we have planned. So there are a couple like OpenSSH upgrades to Containerd and others. So there would be a couple of them. Then beta and stable and would and LTS would as regular receive the kernel updates and a few bug fixes. Next in the slide, we have work in progress, and we heavily welcome you to help on these things. So right now we are actively tracking for alpha. There's a, DSCP issue, so the last to an alpha that you see, it primarily is primarily related. And then we have a IP tables update that needs to happen, so there's a tracking issue for that as well. Raspberry Pi has an issue, so and then the system resolved issue. So these are the primary issues that we are tracking for alpha. And there's on beta we are tracking the issue, which is primarily the NVIDIA drivers. There's a failure while building the container, the dev container. So these are the issues, and we are it would be great to have help on this. Feel free to join the Matrix channel, and there could be discussions in there, and even you can comment on the issues directly to how to progress on the particular issues. Other than that, even the CoreOS overlay and scripts and Portis table have active PRs, which need reviews. So those are also good points to start looking into. So you can probably put your thoughts into it, do some testing. We have GitHub Actions in place, which usually does all the updates for kernels. So there it creates a PR whenever there's a new Linux kernel version is released. So those are some things you can start testing in your local machines, maybe try running those Cola tests and see how things are looking. So these are the few things you can start helping with. In the long term, as we talk, like the ARM64 Polkit PR is there. You can again, you can drop on the Matrix channel, which is there on our README for Flatcar. And you can try to start looking into things and contribute to Flatcar more actively. And I guess after this it's probably the end. Thilo, next. Yeah.
That's the most important slide. That's the call for action. We had Scott joining. And Scott, can you give a quick intro of yourself?
Sure. Hello, everybody. Apologies for the delay. I'm in Virginia, and apparently my Outlook got confused between CEST and CET. Apparently those are two different things. I learned something today, so that's exciting. I'm on the Graviton team, so awesome stuff about ARM64. Really appreciate the work done so far, and we're happy to help, push it over the line, with whatever we can. We are running a free trial of our T4G instances. These are our burstable instances. I posted the link in the Zoom chat, but if you just search T4G free trial on your favorite search engine, you'll see the details. So until the end of this month, 750 free hours. It's ARM64. And my email is just my last name, Malkie, MALKIE @amazon.com. So if you have any questions, concerns about Graviton, ARM64 in general, please don't hesitate to reach out. We're happy to help.
Wow, nice. Thank you so much. That should set up everybody who's interested in running ARM tests natively. Awesome. Great.
Thank you.
All right, folks. Do we have questions or comments from the community? All right, I think we're a little over the allocated 45 minutes, like 10-ish minutes over. So we can call it a day at this point, and I'm looking forward to see all of you back in a month for our July meeting.
All right, so have a good evening, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care, folks. Have a good one.
Take care. Have a good evening.